Hello, this is Noreen from Joy Cards and welcome to my YouTube channel. Yay! For more of my Stampin' Up! Card videos, please like and subscribe, hit that little bell, and you'll be notified when my videos release. So now let's go make a card. Hello everybody! Today's video, I've actually got 3 cards and I'm highlighting On the Horizon and the die set that goes with. And by the way, the link to the magnets is in the description of my video because I always use my magnets like that and put them back in their original sleeve so everything kind of stays together. And then also this On the Horizon DS paper, which is crazy awesome. In fact, I had 2 packages of it and I've gone through so much of it. And you're gonna tell because I have 2 cards here, and this is actually the same card using different DS paper from On the Horizon. And even with 2 packs, when I was creating actually a couple of videos back, I did the windmill one, and I created this really cool magnetic fun fold kind of windmill here. I used up all the DS paper. Well, almost all. I had like 1 sheet left and I didn't have enough to do the video, and I thought, you know, I can just go ahead and show you how versatile this paper is by doing it in another piece. So we're going to do this one because I ran out of this really cool one. So as soon as we get off, I'm actually going to order like 4 more packs of these. And with everything with shipping and licking our wounds from COVID, I would load up and let it, hopefully it's orderable. So, but also I've got this card here, which is kind of an easy card, but we're going to put together the hard one. So let me tell you what I did with this. First of all, I used the back of one of the DSPs from On the Horizon and made this cool background with just basic black. Used garden green for the plants, and then of course that's Memento. And then I used another piece of the DSP, and all I did is I took 2 of the layering pieces from the die, this one and this one here, and made layers underneath here, and kind of used the line from the paper to kind of make the shoreline itself. And then I took these 2 right here and I made the mountains. So I used the DS like this blue one, and I'm from Colorado. We're here in Colorado. So in the mountains at a certain time of the year, we'll have mountains that are really high up that'll have snow on them. And then we'll also have mountains that are a little further down in elevation that will still be green from all the trees and everything. And then there's a time of the year where the aspen turn. So this is actually more Colorado. So I've got my aspen turning. So I used a, actually it's pale papaya, almost looks orange, but it's pale papaya, one of the DS in here, and along with one of the backs of the lighter green, and then took 2 of the same DS for the green, and then some of the blues, and made a 3 layer. So you just put these together with a little fine tip glue because, you know, that's a pretty thin edge. You don't want to snail it, and you definitely want to use your fine tip glue on it. And I just layered them up and put in the birds. I will tell you about the birds. Make sure you got them going the right way. I've always wanted to like turn them the wrong way. And then of course the tag, and just stamp it and put it up on dimensionals and framed it in black, and that was it. So this one's a really easy card. So and that's, you know, this is just how versatile this is. But we are going to be making this type here. And what's really nice about this card, what's really cool about this card, is that there are magnets, because this is another one of those cards, just like the windmill one, that is really thick. And when you have a thick card, they want to pop up. They always want to like not want to lay flat. So on this one, I put a magnet here and a magnet underneath, and you can even do this card by folding this down and not even have to tuck it because there's a magnet in there. And this is similar. So I've got 3 magnets, or actually there's 6 total in this one. So I've got a magnet here hopping onto this one, and then I have a magnet here going onto this one. So there's a whole bunch of magnets in here to just keep these flat. So, but like I said, I used the best sheet is this sheet that is out of that pack, and I went through it like water. So we couldn't do this one, but we're going to do this one. And like I said, I got a bunch of magnets here, and I have the fence tucked under here a little bit, so that just comes out, and then it pulls out like that. But there are magnets. There's a magnet here, and there's a magnet here, and then there's a magnet here. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to start with the card base, and you're probably asking, how did I do this big fold with only 8.5 by 11 paper? Well, I didn't. Stampin' Up! Actually does sell 12 by 12 paper. It's just not in your face. And the white one, just regular white, is on page 136, and it's this right here. And I will put all the dimensions and all the products I'm using in the description of my video, so you can look it up. You can even click on the link and place an order with me. So hey, don't don't forget that. Anyway, and then there's also, you can get 12 by 12s in color stock here on page 126 of the annual catalog. So you can get 12 by 12 paper. So I grabbed a sheet of 12 by 12, and I cut this, and this is 5.5 by 11 7/8. I just took the tiniest bit off the end. So that is the card base. And now we're going to take and we're going to score it. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to score it at 1 1/4. And like I said, don't be frantically writing it down. Just go to the description of the video and it'll be in there for you. So you can just sit back and watch the video here. And then 4 3/4 as well. I had to cut the video there. I accidentally cut the paper instead of scoring. Don't you hate that when it happens? So this is the second score, is 4 3/4. And then I'm going to 7 3/4 and score again, not cut. And that's the base. So here's my 1.75, my 475, and my 775. So I'm going to take this first one here and I'm going to go up, and I'm going to give it a nice score with my bone folder. And then the second one, I'm going to go the opposite, give it a nice score, because this is a thick card. You definitely want to make some nice tight scores here. And then the opposite on the third one. So what it will look like is this. Okay, now you're going to get the DS paper that looks like this. So it's that bright pink on the back and this, and we need to make this 5.5 by 4 3/8, and we're going to make the first cut on the left. So I'm going to turn this over, so when I cut, I'll be cutting the left. So we're going to make this 4 3/8. 1 2 3/8. Okay, we're going to take the cutter and cut it off. So when you turn it around, you're cutting off the left. And then now we need to make this 5.5. Well, it's 6 right now, so I need to do a 1/2 inch. And what I decided to do is take off 1/4 inch on each end, because there is a lot of green here and there is a lot of sky. So I'm going to take off 1/4 inch on each side, so we get this. Now I'm going to take it and I'm going to score on the left side here 1 3/8. So I'm going to go 1 and then 1 2 3/8, which is right here. Don't cut. You need to score. So score 1 3/8. Now I'm going to go ahead and put these birds on, because it's a lot easier to stamp it now than when it's on the card, like how I did it when I made the card. Anyway, so take the bird stamp, and like I said, look at the box and make sure you don't have it like upside down, because these can be like confusing. And then I'm going to take a Post-it note, because I only want 4 of these birds on the right. So these 3 on the left, I don't want. So just to make sure I don't accidentally stamp it, I'm going to put a Post-it note here and dip it into my memento. And then I'm going to take that Post-it note off, because if you leave the Post-it note on, it will be awful. And then you want to turn it over. I had to think for a second. And look, my Memento does this to me all the time when I ink it. If it gets on the lid and I'm constantly getting ink on my hand from my Memento. And you know, black ink will only attract white paper. So make sure if you see something like that, you get it right off, because I can just see myself ruining the whole card by not taking that extra second. So anyway, so I've got my birds on here, just those 4 on the right when you're looking down at it. Now it's been a second, so I'm going to blow on it. Kind of wake it up because I was doing something. And then I'm going to do the birds close to that score line, because a little bit of this is going off the edge. So there's my birds. Now I'm not going to score the paper yet where we scored it. I'm not going to bend it yet. I'm going to put it on first, because if I went ahead and, you know, bent it the direction it's going to be eventually going, it might hit this score line a little wrong. So I'm going to be matching up, and then this is a full 5.5, so it's going to go top to bottom. And I would match the score line on the DS with the score line on the white paper. And it will be a little off this fold as well. So we've got that down, and I'm just going to push it. And now I'm going to fold it over like this and score it. So get my bone folder out again and go like that. So it totally bends the correct way. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab some more snail and put it on this side and fold it over like that. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put on some magnets, and I really should have put the magnet on before I put down this DS, but that's okay, we can fix it. So I'm going to grab my magnets. Now in the description of my video there's a link to get these magnets. They're very specific because they're not too thick and they're not too thin and they're not too big and they're not too small. I use these on all of my cards. I'm not affiliated with them. I haven't found them on Amazon to be affiliated with them, but so there's a link so you can place an order for these. So I'm going to grab 2 at a time here so you can kind of push them out. Now if you want to skip this step, you can totally. You can make this card without all the magnets, but it does look better with the magnets so it stays closed. But yours will just be a little bulkier than mine would be. So go ahead, and I got 2 sets of magnets out here, and I'll go ahead and put them away in their little baggie. And then take your pick tool and grab a glue dot and put one on each side. Now I'm using my silicone craft sheet. Why? Because it's awesome. And as I'm doing this, I know I can leave these down with glue dots on them, and it's not going to be a problem picking them up. So it's if you don't have one of these, it's in the description of my video. You can click on the bit.ly link, go right to my Stampin' Up site and place an order, because these are like crucial. I had this even before I was card making. When I was just scrapbooking, I had a silicone craft sheet, because I can take my thing and no problem, it's not getting my glass dirty. Also, there is a link to the glass here too, if you want to know what I use. So the first thing I'm going to do is I do have to move up this paper. There is a magnet that should be right there that clicks onto it right here. So I do have to pull this up. And ladies, if you make cards, you're going to be pulling stuff up. Just become an expert at it. I like to use sometimes these little spatula things that'll get right under that paper and not rip it, you know. And I'm going to take one of these and I'm going to pull one apart. Okay. And this is the part that hooked on to the other magnet, and the glue dot's on my finger. So I'm going to place that glue dot right here, right before that fold. And then you can tell if you've got it right if you take the other magnet and it sticks onto it. In fact, go ahead and leave it there. And then I'm going to take the spatula again and get that other side. And like I said, you know, we all know how to do this. We've all like messed up, and it's like, yep, get out a little spatula thingy and just take these apart. Okay, put that back on the craft sheet, and I'm gonna put it right before that fold again. And then I'm gonna take this, so the glue dot's on my finger, and this part should stick to there. So just like that. So look, we fixed it. Now I'm gonna start on this side here, and I'm gonna grab another piece of this DS. So now you're gonna grab a second piece of that same DS paper, and of course it's 5.5, so I'm gonna, and this is a 6, so you're gonna take 1/4 of an inch off the top and 1/4 of an inch off the bottom, so it all kind of matches what you got going on here. And then I want the right side to be on the end, because we're making this piece right here. So if I did, it kind of goes off my cutter here, so I'm going to turn this upside down, and I'm going to cut this 1 5/8, and 1 5/8 is an 1/8 of an inch past a half, if you ever wanted to know that. And that's our piece right here. So we still have our magnets here, and they have glue dots on them from when we put it together. So we're gonna, before we put this piece on, we're gonna close our card, and we're gonna push down and pull the magnet apart like that. So now we know it's in the exact spot that we need it to be. And then I'm gonna take my snail, and I'm going to snail up that piece we just cut, and I'm going to line it up against the edge. Mind my head in the camera, probably. Just like that. Now we're going to work on this part, and I am using Garden Green. Now, I would have loved to have used Evening Evergreen, but I used it all up on these 2 cards. I literally ran myself out of paper. But that's okay, because if you look on the back of the DS paper, it will tell you all the coordinating colors of this paper. So I picked this one because there are so many greens here, and one of the colors is Garden Green. So we are using Garden Green instead of Evening Evergreen, which I would have actually preferred, but that's okay. So, and we're gonna take the pink piece of the DS paper that looks like this on the back. So there's a really pink piece here, and then we're gonna go ahead and stamp this. So here's Relax from On the Horizon, and I'm also using Garden Green ink. So I'm gonna get this nice and inked up here, and I'm just gonna stamp it at the top. And usually I don't put sentiments inside my card, but these are just so generic that I decided to go ahead and do it today. So I've got that piece, and if you noticed that I'm using a different color as I used in this card, and that's because I wanted to show you how versatile it was. So you can also use this piece here, this peach, but today I decided to use the pink. So I got a Garden Green. This is 2.5 by 5.5. I've got this pink one from On the Horizon, which is 2.25 by 5.25. I've already stamped it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and snail it up and just put it on the piece here in the middle. Snail up the back of this one, and then I always like to give my card just a little bit of a buffer here. Don't get it right on that score for folding it, because it will impede it from closing. So if you look, when I closed it, those magnets hooked onto each other. So if you don't have the magnets, that's fine. It'll just want to be bulky, you know. That's why I put the magnets in. And those magnets, I mean, when I die, there'll probably be 12 of these left. So that you get a ton of them, and they're not all that expensive. So that's how we do the very back. Now I got out the magnets again, and I've got 2 sets, and I'm gonna do the same thing like I did before. I'm gonna take your pick tool and pull off a glue dot and put them on each side of each set. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll be right back. So here's one of my sets. They're both together, so I'm gonna pull them apart and take one of them and put it there. I'm gonna take this bottom one, and I'm gonna put it right here, okay? And then I'm gonna take the other one and separate it and put the bottom one right here, okay? And then I'm going to take the magnets and put them on top of each other like that. And I'm going to close this. Okay. Make sure that glue dot's on there real good. And then I pull it apart. So now when I layer it up, they'll stick together. Now we're going to do this side. So here's the front, and then you open this up, and that's the inside. And that's what we did with the magnets just now. Now I want you to cut 2 pieces of the garden green, and these are 1 3/4 by 5.5. But I say 1 3/4, but I want you to go just slightly under 1 3/4, just to accommodate this fold here. So I'm going to take one of them, and then I'm going to take that same DS in that, I think this is Fresh Frieza, and this one is going to be cut 1.5 by 5 3/8. And then I want you to take the Breathe from On the Horizon and your garden green, and then to make it like come out correct, I always put like one in the middle here, and it's off to the side, of course, and one on the end there, and then one on the end there, and then put one in the middle there, and one in the middle there. So I'm going to take that, I snailed it up, and I'm just going to plop this in the middle. Now I'm just going to snail up both of these pieces, so the one we just did, and then snail up the other one. And I just have my snail holding this down here so it can just do its thing. And then I'm going to place this right before that crease, just right before it, or after it. So I'm not on top of that crease. Okay. And then I'm going to take the other side and I'm going to line it up to the end here. And this is what it's going to look like. Now make sure before you move on that you don't have your paper too close to this fold, because it won't fold right. So with the magnets in there, we got that. So we've got this hanging open, which we will get to. We're putting in one more set of magnets, but this is how that looks. Now we're moving to the front. Now, earlier when we cut the main piece here, we cut off the left side, and this is what we have. And this is basically 1 5/8, and you want to cut it down to a 5.5. Remember, 1/4 on each, the top and the bottom piece. So I can use this instead of wasting this piece of paper. I can use it, which I did here. And what I did to just kind of give it a little bit of a frame is I took a tiny piece of a 1/4 inch by 5.5 of the garden green, and then I snailed it up and put it on the very end. So you could do that, and I'm going to go ahead and do that because it just saves paper. Or if you don't mind, you could cut another piece of this, just cut the left side of it, and it would be 1 3/4 by 5.5. But I'm going to go ahead and save paper and use the piece that we cut earlier, and I'm just going to line it up with the edge here and on top of that green frame I just made, just like that. But like I said, you don't have to do that. You can just go ahead and cut a bigger piece if you want. Now we need to match up those birds. And those birds, I really should have matched it up before I snailed it on here, but hey, why don't we make it difficult? So I'm going to take those same birds, and before I do anything, I'm going to clean off that stamp because we've already used it, and I don't want those other birds to get, you know, accidentally stamped on here. So I took my chamois in my case. This will be in the description of the video as well. Like I said, you can click on the link, you can go right to my Stampin' Up site, and God forbid you place an order. Anyway, so I'm going to take this. Now we did the, and you have to look at the box because I swear to gosh, I'm going to do these things upside down. So we did the first 4, so I only want the 3 on the left. So I'm going to take a Post-it note and put it over these 4 here and stamp it up in my memento. Make sure you don't touch your memento and have it get all over the place like I do. And then take this off. Don't forget that. And then I'm going to match these up on this side here. So I'm going to give the birdie a little bit more room. And I'm just going to put them right here and hold them for a second. just like that. Now we're going to make the fence. So these are the two fence pieces here, and I went ahead and I die cut them in soft suede. And then I'm taking my early espresso and the wood stamp from the thing here, and I'm going to do the early espresso, and I'm going to vertically stamp the fence. So just do this, just like so. Now I want you to cut 4 pieces of the grass, 2 in garden green, and I had literally scraps of my evening evergreen, thankfully. So so you got 4 pieces, 2 of each of these. And then I want you to grab the tag, or what looks like the tag, or water, or whatever you want it to be, and cut this out in garden green. Now we're going to take the wood stamp again and the early espresso again. I'm going to ink it up, and I'm going to stamp off, and then I'm going to stamp on a piece of basic white, just like that. I'm going to take that die again, and I'm going to tape it on here, and I'm going to cut it out. Now I'm going to stamp the sentiment, which is also on the horizon, thinking of you. Now I've done this card a couple of times, and with these stamps, if you notice, the edges get inked really quite a bit. So I'm going to just clean it off. I think it's a good idea when you're dealing with these orange stamps to clean them off if you used them a few times, just so you don't get that shadow. And then we're going to go ahead and stamp the thinking of you nice and dark, because it's got to get through that early espresso, on the top portion of this tag, just like this. Just like that. Now I'm going to take those 2 pieces and match them up and keep them together, and I'm going to put them in my cutter, and I'm going to cut off, because I thought this was just too big. If you want to leave it big, that's fine, but I just thought it was too big. So I'm going to cut off a part of this. Just get it here, try to get it straight. Down, cut it off. Just like that. Now I'm going to eschew them. So I'm going to just put snail on the bottom part of the garden green, and I'm just going to set them offset like that. So before we put the front together, this is driving me crazy, and I do finish the backs of my cards. So I'm going to open this all up here, and we're going to finish the back, but we've got one more magnet to put on, and it's between the it's the first back of the fold. Anyway, so we're going to do the same thing like we did before. I took my 2 sets of magnets. I put glue dots on each side. Definitely do this first, because doing it after, as you saw before, kind of stinks. So we're going to go ahead and put one right here. And we're going to put one right here along with my dog's DNA there. And then I'm going to close this, right? And then I'm going to pull it apart. So push on them real good so the glue dot sticks. Just like that. Now I'm going to take 3 pieces of paper, and they're in garden green. So this is 4 1/8 by 5 1/2. And these 2 are 2 15/16. So just shy, 1 tick shy of 3 by 5 1/2. And we're going to go ahead and snail these up and finish the back of that card so it's nice and flat and doesn't drive me crazy. So here's that first 2 15/16 by 5 1/2. Don't forget, all the dimensions are in the description of my video. You can pull everything down so you don't have to frantically write. And I also give away the demo card. So go ahead, if you are a first-time subscriber, like, subscribe, put in the comments that you want to win the demo card, and leave your email address. I can't talk to you without that. So look, so I've got those together. Bunk, just like that, and it lays nice and flat. Now I'm going to put the last one on. Yeah, go ahead, say first-time subscriber, like, subscribe, put your email in the comments, and you'll find out if you won the demo card. And speaking of mailing cards, this is a heavy card. So make sure that you put an extra, an extra stamp on it. Also, the post office gets mad at you when you mail anything over 1/4 of an inch. So yeah, you might want to check out with your post office how much postage this is going to take, because I'm going to have to do the same thing. And that's, you know, such a pain. But this is great to just give to someone, you know, so you don't have to worry about postage. Now, let's move on to the gate here. And what I'm going to do is this one right here, not a problem. I'm just going to snail it. This is the one that goes on the left. And I'm going to put this one on first. So I'm going to put that guy right about, I don't know, about here. It's a little up. And then I'm going to take one of the evening evergreen and one of the garden green. And I'm going to snail these two pieces together. Oops, grab the right one, lady. Make sure you have two different colors. Actually, I want to put the green, garden green on top. How many times can I do this? Okay. And then just line them up so they're skewed. And then you're going to put them on your card. So go ahead and give that evening evergreen some snail here. Put it on the bottom. And then pull that front flap up and take some scissors. And we're going to cut this off just like that. And then we're going to take these really cool little pebbly things that came with the suite, and the pebble and animal shapes. They'll be in the description of my video, so you can do that. So I'm going to take a brown one and a gray one and just put them on the corner like so. And then let's go ahead and skip over to the other part of the fence. So this part of the fence, and I designed it so it tucks under. Now you can decide not to do that if you want, but if you do, what I did is I took the mini glue dots and then I cut them in half, just like that. And they do sell scissors that don't, you know, stick to your blade. So I have a set of those. And I'm going to take that half and I'm going to put it on top of each other. So I took one mini dimensional. It needs to be a mini. You can cut a big one if you don't have a mini one, but the mini ones are great. They come in a packet with some black ones, which is really cool. And I'm going to put that right here, and then I'm going to do another set of these and put it right here. So I'm going to do that and be right back. So I got my mini glue or mini dimensionals layered on top of each other, and then I'm going to take my soft suede Stampin' Right marker and just color that white, just in case it peeks through. It's just a kind of a finishing touch. If you are a demonstrator, which I have tons of demonstrator subscribers, thank you. It might be worth your time to get a set of the Stampin' Rights. I know the entire one is quite a bit, but you get a discount, you know, and they are worth it. I use these all the time, and you can buy the in color one separate too. So I just colored that up real quick just to kind of get rid of that white. And make sure you put your dimensionals on the long end. The short end goes off there. I put it on the opposite. I put it on wrong, so do as I say, not as I do. Anyway, on the longer side here. And then I'm going to put this right on the edge like so. And he is going over that fold, so you have to tuck it. And now I got to use these again. And I'm going to snail these up together, offset. And I'm going to snail the back. And I'm going to get it before the fold because I don't want to tuck these. And I'm going to go under, well, I can go over the fence. Okay. And then I'm going to cut off the end. Just like that. And if you are a demonstrator, case me. I don't care. You know, that's what the internet's for, is for, you know, getting ideas and stuff. So I have no problem with that. If you did a class on this, this would have to be an advanced class. You know what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to put some rocks here on the middle fold here. Just make sure it's not interfering with that fence like that. And then the last thing is the sentiment. And I'm only going to snail the left side here. So let's go ahead and snail that up and put it on like so. And that's the card. So if you're a first time subscriber, like, subscribe, put in the comments that you want to win the demo card and leave your email. I can't talk to you without your email. There are so many cards that I should be giving away, but I can't because nobody gave their email so I can get your mailing address. So, but that'll do it for me. And I think the next video I'm going to do just using that on horizon cards and make some like simple ones. Yeah. Okay. We'll see if that happens. So, but that'll do it for me. Thanks. Bye.